FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's a price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
All right, welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you could join us tonight. We've got a good show for you. If you're a new listener to Armed Alabama, or if you're just now tuning in, this is a show about self-defense, firearm and ammo selection, concealed carry, home protection, proper training, range etiquette, Alabama law, Mississippi law, and Florida law, and, of course, U.S. and constitutional law. If you have a comment or a question for myself and Judge Johnston, you can call us here at the studio, 251-343-0106. You can call or text to that number if you have a comment or a question regarding firearms or any of the previous topics that I stated before. Now's your chance. You've been curious about it. A question that you may have, give us a call here. Also, we are simulcasting on Facebook. You can go to our Facebook page, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5, and please like, save, and follow. That way you'll be notified every time we post to our Facebook page or our other social media page. But like I said, please join us tonight if you can on our Facebook Live simulcast. And also, you can present comments or questions during the show there, and we will get to them and answer them.
I'm going to make sure I watch those, which I rely on someone else to do for me. So I'm going to look at those. And, of course, they can text them in, too, but we'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely. You can also go to our website, armedalabama.com, and you can listen to all of our previous shows that we have here, going back really from the very beginning, Judge, over 2 years.
Yes. Well, it's about 130 shows, something like that.
A lot of content there. A lot of people tell me that they listen to our shows from our website. So if you get a chance or opportunity, go to our website there, armedalabama.com, and be sure and listen to our previous shows. Lots of content there. You got an amazing library. And you can also listen via the TuneIn app on your smartphone, and you can listen via simulcasting via the website here at FM Talk 106.5. If we go off air, if you have a comment or a question you want to email us, you can email myself, Adam at armedalabama.com, or the judge at armedalabama.com. We'll be glad to hear from you and answer any questions, or if you have an idea for previous shows in the future, or if you make a comment about previous shows, by all means, that's your opportunity. But most of all, we would really like to hear from you in tonight's show. You can give us a call or text here to the studio, and that's 251-343-0106. And if you listen to our show, please patron our advertisers. If you like our show, tell our advertisers that you heard about them from the show from Armed Alabama, and those are Dr. Justin Foster at Foster's Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, McCoy Outdoors, Ace Hardware Stores at Spring Hill, Moffett, and Creola locations, the law office of Matt Green, Hanson Heating and Air, Mike Ward's Liberty Safe, the law office of Steve Moore, Hunter Security. If you're interested in having your business on Armed Alabama or sponsoring our show, we'd be glad to hear from you. You can email us again. Our email address is adam@armedalabama.com or thejudge@armedalabama.com.
Adam, I was thinking about actually Hanson Heating and Air and Mike Ward Liberty Safe today because I was packing some ammunition and ammo boxes like I've showed you I've done, and put the detonant packs in. And anyway, it was starting to rain outside and get humid, and I was thinking, the difference it makes to have a house where you have air conditioning, where the humidity is down, compared to, my father he'd run the air usually June, July, and August, and that was it. I guess he would have been running it today, but it was so humid most of the time. And when you're packing ammo that's already humid, that humidity, you got to get it out of there with those packs. But you may need a lot of them then. But it's amazing. Last week, I don't know if you looked at the replay, I opened up a 22-year-old so-called spam cam of Russian ammo, 7.6239 Tula, I think it was, maybe been Wolf. And didn't know what to expect. May have been a brick, sand, who knows. They looked as good as any you would buy off the shelf. I was really kind of shocked, really, because you don't expect Russian technology or at least quality control to be right up there at the top, and it was. So just kind of like food, we'll be recirculating that. Looks like we have Joe Abdullah there, and may as well take his call because want to get him in for the break. Joe, how are you?
I'm good. How you guys today?
Pretty good. Been worried about you. Hadn't heard from you in a while. Hope you've had a good summer.
I've been listening. I have the workflow, man. Sometimes I be busy. So
Yeah. What's up?
I got one question. What you guys think about this classic weapon, this plastic gun that's supposed to go in effect at midnight tonight?
Well, you got me on that. Give me a little bit more on it.
Oh, this guy, you can go on the internet and learn how to make a AK-47.
Oh, you mean
the plastic and all
3D,
that stuff?
the 3D printer guns?
Yeah, what you guys think about
I'm
that?
going to let.
I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, I'm going to let Adam talk about it because I don't have it. I know I've heard what it is, but I can't conceptualize what it is.
I know what he's talking about. There's actually, I think, from what I've heard today, the different communications, I didn't get a chance really to go and look at the ruling on the judge made regarding 3D printers.
But how can a printer make a gun?
So
it lays it down in layer after layer.
So there's three different there's different ways you can do a 3D printer with a plastic media, or you can have a more expensive 3D printer that can lay it down with a metal, a composite metal.
And it seems to me the only advantage would be is if you were a criminal, because I can't imagine going to all that trouble to make the best.
I don't know exactly what they're referring to. I just only heard about it not too long before the show. But one of the classics, and this is something you've been able to do for a while, one of the classic examples is being able to 3D print a lower receiver for an AR-15, which is absolutely legal. You can buy an 80% receiver
the
for
80-20 loophole.
So, and you're well within the law as far as that goes, and I think you can manufacture 2 or 3 a year for your personal use.
Because I've heard about them also perhaps using 3D printers to make organs for your body in the future.
Well, I think to me, in my opinion, I think it's a lot of hype. You're not going to be able to go and just say, okay, I'm going to download this 3D CAD design. One, you got to have, it's very expensive to have the software. You got to have the computer to be able to run it, and also the actual 3D printer itself. Now that technology,
you got to put the parts together. It doesn't just come out.
Well, that technology is getting cheaper all the time, but is, to me, in my mind, the only thing you could be able to use it for would be like an AR-15 lower receiver. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to make a firearm and I've downloaded these schematics or a 3D drawing.
Because in theory, you can do that. You can get the atom bomb plans online.
Yeah,
but it's getting the supplies to build it with.
And
Hey,
I
Adam,
just think it's a little overrated.
Well,
and height.
Two problems I think about with that. One, there's a weapon with no serial numbers. And two, you're acquiring a weapon with no kind of background check.
First, let me correct you there. It's not a weapon unless you use it against somebody, so it's a firearm.
Okay.
But it does, you're correct, does not have a serial number. You cannot transfer that to anyone until you get a serial number, and the process to do that.
You can do it. You can do it and make your own serial numbers, or you make your own
But
firearm.
It's got to be registered with them.
Yes, absolutely.
Up there, and so it's there. We got to step into a break. We got Jeff on the line. Jeff, hang on from Daphne, and we'll be right back after this short break.
This program is a production of Armed Alabama, LLC. The comments and views of the hosts are those of Armed Alabama, LLC, for which it is solely responsible. The view and comments of the callers, guests, and texters do not necessarily represent the views of the sponsors or advertisers of Armed Alabama, LLC, or of Armed Alabama, LLC, Bigler Broadcasting, LLC, FM Talk 1065, or WABH. No comments from Judge Rusty Johnston should be taken as legal advice, but as educational information. Judge Johnston is not engaged in the practice of law and should not be sought out to answer legal questions off the air. Seek legal advice from a qualified attorney who knows the complete specifics of your legal matter.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Good luck. See, I actually cut that off because it's about a 20-second gap. Before we get to Jeff, I want to tell everybody we're going to get to, if we slow down a bit, your rights, your firearm rights during a natural disaster or national emergency like a hurricane. Because this comes up every year, and we've got more protections than we did. But even last year, if you remember, Adam, in the U.S. Virgin Islands, the governor of the Virgin Islands issued some crazy order that the National Guard was to seize all the firearms, and then he denied he did, and all of that. But let's go ahead and take Jeff. Jeff, how are you?
Doing great, guys. How about y'all?
Pretty good. What's going on?
Well, got a quick question
Yep.
for you. I think I may know the answer to this, but I wanted to run it by you real quick. My wife and I are over here in Daphne.
Yeah.
And both of us, we've had our pistol permit for decades, long time. She has hers, I have mine. She has a pistol, I have my pistol. And
right.
We're taking a little road trip out to Colorado tomorrow. And never really traveled with my pistol before, but, I've got a Baldwin County license here that I'm just curious about the reciprocity through, here and say Colorado and the states we've got to go through. I mean, it's New Mexico, Texas.
Well, actually, Jeff, I just got back from Colorado.
Yeah, he can probably
and
tell
Wyoming
you. But remember that. Let me tell everybody this website first of all. Absolutely free. Mm-hmm. It's www.handgunlaw.us, and you can put in Alabama on the chart, and it'll say every state that's reciprocal to it. And remember, Jeff, you got to comply, even though your handgun law may. I know we're reciprocal to Mississippi, for instance. Right. You still got to go by their law on self-defense or where you can carry it. This site will tell you that. Or for $1.99, if you got a smartphone, which I wish I didn't, frankly, there is a program called CCW, and it's about work. I think it's called Workman's Technology Group or something like that. But the symbol for it is a pistol kind of on a flag. Okay. It has everything the other site does, and as you're flying down the highway, maybe as the passenger, you can punch the information in. It'll tell you, like, let's say in Colorado, you can't take a gun into a restaurant. I'm just making this up. Can't take a gun into a restaurant that sells alcohol. It'll tell you all that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you ever run into a state that is not reciprocal, if you have a trunk, what you want to do is unload the gun, put the guns in the trunk separated from the ammo. It'd be better have the ammo in your back seat in some kind of container and have the firearms in the trunk. But you ought to know that before you go.
Just make it. Hey, that'll make it real easy for that guy to get a hold of you and take care of you before you can get to it.
Yeah, I know.
Just a joke, guys.
Exactly. But Adam, you just went out there. I know Mississippi is just offhand.
Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and of course Colorado is.
Okay.
If depending on how you go, Jeff, you clip the way we went. We clipped the very northeastern part of New Mexico. So New Mexico has a little bit different law there, but I think there's no issue with reciprocity. But they can have a little bit different gun laws. I don't remember all the details, but definitely if you plan to spend a little bit of time in New Mexico, definitely you want to check it out.
Right. Well, that's good news, and I'll definitely look into that app. That sounds like something.
Yeah, I'll tell you, $1.99. If you go to our website, armedalabama.com, we've got a link there. We don't get anything from it, but it's just a link because it's somebody told us about it a couple of years ago. It's a great. I don't know how anybody makes any money off $2.
Yeah. So
update it.
I hope, Jeff, you're going to the mountains out there. If you are, think about me while you're out there because it's beautiful country. So beautiful.
We're actually headed to Telluride. So, yeah. We're headed to the mountains.
Okay. Well, I hope you're driving a Jeep or something, huh? You're going to go to the trails up there?
Yeah, I've got a Ford Raptor I'm going to take with me.
Well, there you go. That sounds like a good trip.
It's going to take care of that, I think.
I wish we were going with you.
I know,
Let
Jeff.
us know when you get back, though. Tell us how that was.
Absolutely.
I certainly will, guys. And look, thanks for the info.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Have a good night.
You too. Yeah, that's something, for instance, Adam, I would suspect most state laws are the same, but generally you have the same right in your hotel room to defend yourself and your family and your goods there that you would in your home because you're leasing it or renting it for the night. But you may not. It's something that it's only 4 or 5 states you got to check. Of course, you've got some hotels now that have crazy signs like no firearms and all this. That would not affect me one bit. I just wouldn't go in open carrying.
Yeah.
I would have it in my bag. But hotels are definitely a place where you ought, if you're a carrier, you should have one at night in the hotel.
So, Judge, we got a few texts here from David and from James. I think we may have already hit it earlier in our conversation regarding 3D printing firearms and now also blueprints. The question is, do you think these blueprints and so forth, 3D printed firearms, I guess, complies with the 1988 Undetectable Firearm Act? They do comply, in my opinion. I'm not definitely not a specialist on this, but just from people I know that bought 80% receivers or
there's got to be
3D printed
some metal parts.
Yeah, well, I think you just can't just print up a pistol or a revolver. I think you can print up certain components.
Right.
For an example, an AR-15 lower receiver would be a good example. If you have a high tensile 3D printer that can print high tensile metal, but it's almost like cast aluminum, which you can run an AR-15 with a cast aluminum receiver. People buy them all the time.
But remember when Glocks came out? Oh, they're the undetectable guns. They forgot you've got the hammer and the firing pin. There can be a couple of things.
Well, you still have to buy a barrel, all the internal parts, bolt carrier and stock and so forth. Yeah, I mean, to me, in my mind, I think it's much to do about nothing because you as a as an individual, if you have the capacity to build a firearm, you can. You're allowed to.
You're allowed to do it.
You're allowed to do that for your own personal use. Now, if you're going to go out and sell it, that's a whole nother different ball. That's a whole nother ball of wax.
I think the reason we're in the news is there's a bill before Congress to quote, I don't know whether it outlaws them or puts restrictions but a federal judge issued a nationwide injunction banning those until he could hear the case. There we go again. Should Congress be making the decision or a federal judge from we don't know where appointed for life? And I think Congress is the one that should be doing that. But, that's kind of how we've gone.
Hey, Judge, I wanted to ask you real quickly, what does that mean, undetectable firearm?
Like being able to go get on an airplane.
Right.
And it won't show up on a scan or something?
Yeah, and you can those scans can be turned to different sensitivity. If you want to turn it very sensitive, you're going to get a lot of false false positives.
Yep. Yeah.
But you're going to catch everything that goes through there. There's usually kind of a fine in between, but I would find
so basically they were outlawed with that act.
Yeah, an undetectable gun. The issue is, I guess, other than the CIA, I don't know anybody would have an undetectable.
Because you're not going to be able to do that with a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because anything metal is going to be detectable.
So you think this is a lot of to do about nothing?
Yep. I just think it's another opportunity to keep this anti-gun fervor stirred up, and it's just another log that's been thrown on the fire.
Yeah, I think Schumer or somebody already blamed Trump for this.
I mean, because this has been going on for a long time.
I think Trump has a 3D printer, and he's printing up guns in the basement with the Russians' help. Let's see, Mr. Producer. Okay, Mark, hang on the line, and we got to take our break here. We'll be back in about 3 minutes and take you next.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. You forgot to say please.
Please. That's Arnold in the Terminator. Before we get to Mark, I want to say again, if you have a personal injury that's tripping and falling, getting hit by a truck, or I guess an airplane falling on you, and your neighbor shooting you, especially if he's got insurance, call the Moore Law Firm. That's my friend Steve Moore, an old classmate. His phone number, he's here in Mobile, is 251-445-7602, or you can go online, www.moorelawfirm-al.com. He's been practicing, gosh, I don't know, close to 40 years. But he's a lot younger looking than I am because he didn't have all that stress on the bench. Let's take Mark from Mobile. How you doing, Mark?
Excellent.
What's up?
So, just a couple of comments about these 3D printed guns.
Great.
And I'll just start with the 3D printers are amazing devices, and they're actually using them to make parts for jet engines.
Yep.
My daughter worked at GE Aviation, and they're actually downloading programs and using these 3D printers to make parts that go inside of jet engines. So they.
I wonder how much the printer cartridges cost.
And they're great, Mark, for rapid prototyping and everything.
Yeah, they have some amazing capability, and now the ones the ones that they're talking about though are very expensive.
I can imagine.
Tens of thousands
very
of dollars.
expensive.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, no, if you're going to make a jet engine part, you're talking hundreds.
Yeah, well, when you want to buy a gun, you can buy a gun for as cheap, a brand new one, $200 or even less, or a used one, or sure, an illegal gun on the street is probably going to cost $500. But those kind of people have no capacity. You got to have a little sense to operate a printer to print a gun.
Well, and that's where I sort of go along with Adam in that this is a much ado about nothing, in that anybody that can afford to buy one of these 3D printers is going to make one firearm just to say he did it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the quality is not going to be there. It's a whole lot cheaper to buy a fine piece of firearm than to.
And you know how we all are. We get a new printer, and it takes about 3 hours to get it hooked up, and there are a few hiccups along the way. And the kind of people, the criminals, most of them aren't real smart. I tell you, when I was on the bench, I had robberies occur, and the criminal would come and stick up a place, and his gun would fall apart. Mm-hmm. He hadn't even checked it to see if it was loaded. Obviously, hadn't cleaned it. So you're not getting a real, high clientele of people there. But I'm with you. I think it's a boutique item. Is that what they call it? Just to show you can do it.
Yeah, and so sort of a follow-up question there. I mean, I don't see, I'd be afraid to fire it.
There you go. There you go. I'll just tell you, when I have totally taken apart guns, and even though I know I've got them back, I usually put them in kind of this gun vise I have, and I've got about a 25-foot long nylon cord, and I pull the trigger with that a few times just to make sure. But I'm with you. I don't trust myself to make something like that.
Yeah.
For everybody that's interested, I don't think they go into 3D. Yeah, they do. The website, which you ought to bookmark, thetruthaboutguns.com, www.thetruthaboutguns.com. And on page 2, it's like the newest is on page 1, 5 easy ways to make an AR-15 lower receiver at home. And one of the 5 ways is the 3D printer. But
and so that actually brings up my follow-on question. If you have a relative that has made a firearm, maybe one of these 80-20 deals, can that be transferred to you, or what do you have to do to transfer that?
As I understand it, you have to mark the receiver, then you have to mark the receiver, and I don't know whether you call them, get a number, or but it has to have a marking on the receiver. You can't, the only thing that's tracked with a gun is the receiver. They all have a number. And when you make your own, it doesn't have to have one. But if you want to transfer it, you got to have one on there. Isn't that what you understand?
Oh, yeah, but I don't know the exact all details.
I don't know the details.
That's something they go and do research on.
The ATF and say, what is my number or whatever.
And then, of course, you have to have a record, detailing the firearm and with the number and so forth. But
that's if you want to do it by the book. I guess a relative could just die and you could be there, by him when he died and just take home your prize. But, how that goes. If they want to get you for something, they're going to get you. So just watch it. This is an interesting article because it talks about casting an epoxy, kind of mold of your AR and that kind of thing. I mean, it's a pretty long article, but it's still one of those things. Somebody has to really want to do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to driving over to McCoy's and picking up an AR-15.
Because McCoy's have some really nice ones.
Well, they do. And
at
I guarantee
a good price.
You could buy top of the line for 100th of what it would cost to make one.
Yep.
Remember the old Johnny Cash song, he took one part at a time or whatever. They say if you actually buy one car part at a time, it costs 10 times what the car would cost because they get the parts at cost and it's automated and put together. But well, Mark, thank you a lot. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, I got one unrelated question.
Okay.
And I got to apologize to Adam for asking this, but if
he's guilty,
I've got a weapon that I'm not using often enough. I'm not going to the range often enough, and I wanted to know what's the best way to store one magazine. Just leave it or rotate through magazines on a monthly basis?
Yep, that's a good question, Mark. So,
but you want it ready for self-defense?
Yeah. So, I always recommend at least have 3, magazines and keep 2 of them loaded and 1 of them empty, meaning that magazine will be at rest. And so, you said you're going. I always say if you're going to the range or whatever, and it's been a pretty good interval since the last time you went to the range. At that time, that's a good opportunity to rotate them.
Yeah, or just unload one occasionally. And just let. It's always going to have a set, but like I know when I got that new Beretta, those springs were so tight you could not get close to capacity without a loader.
It's magazines, especially really good magazines that's maybe from an aftermarket company or the magazine company or the manufacturer of the firearm that you purchase. Those magazines are at a whole different level now than they were 15, 25 years ago. And so the spring, definitely with the springs, they don't necessarily get the memory that they did.
And Mark, one thing you
to.
can do is buy, if you have a magazine, a lot of places sell extra springs for that magazine.
Yep.
A place called Brownells is kind of a gunsmith supply place, Bronells, I think. And now, that's for a Glock or a Smith. If you've got something a little unusual, they're probably not going to have them. But
No, Mark's got something unusual. So.
yeah.
So, Mark, you may have to just keep and rotate those magazines out as far as being loaded and unloaded.
But you're right about it being so much
what
better.
I've been doing it just on a monthly basis because, unfortunately, the last time I was at the range was Family Day.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it every month, but 2 or 3 times, 4 times a year would be good.
That's a good point. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's another odd thing too, Adam, is people that keep the same magazine, and I'm gonna unload this. You see?
Yep, clear.
Usually, in the first round, often will have almost a little indentation in it where it's been racked into the gun, and that's something you may just want to rotate in with.
Yeah, because
you've always got that top one.
If you constantly use that same round or whatever,
Yep.
you're putting yourself
You're doing the same thing
in a
every
position.
time.
Yeah, right.
And-
Loading and unloading, loading around in the chamber, or i.e. racking the slide,
Yep.
and it's going.
It may not cause any
Yep.
problem, but you can see it on there.
Over a
and
period of
why
time.
take the chance?
Yep, over a period of time, you might introduce a failure.
Yep.
You know?
So just mix them up. And remember to always try out your self-defense ammo. Now, a lot of people just put the full metal jackets in. Believe me, that's going to work. But if you got, the expensive Hornady or whatever you've got, try it out in your gun. Try out your full metal jackets,
absolutely.
too. Because lots of guns are finicky on just one brand of magazine.
Yeah, case in point, you can take your firearm out to the range, and you can shoot 115 grain full metal jackets if it's a 9mm, just as an example. And then so some of your critical defense or ammunition, they can be 125 grain, even 145 grain bullets. They have your 9mm, and so I've had firearms that 145 grain ammunition, it will not feed correctly into a firearm.
Yeah. And I told you that I had it was a Beretta M9, but I'd always shot full metal jacket with it, which you generally did then if you were in the Army. But if you put in the good HydroShock, you would get either a failure to feed or jam, maybe every other magazine. So you just never know. And it maybe just needed to cycle through. I need to try that again and see, because that's when I got on the flex tips. They don't have that opening like that. Now, if anybody's a question about guns and hurricanes, we'll take it, or anything else. But one thing is review. I'll put up a reminder to go to our show from 2 years ago when we had Gordon Hutchison on that talked about the firearm seizure in New Orleans, and put the link to where it is on our site. That'd be a good for everybody to listen to how that got over there.
Yeah, and it is hurricane season now.
Yeah,
so.
And basically, what you want to do, you don't want to flaunt. I mean, if you're being forcibly evacuated, we'll talk about it when we get back, but you still got your firearm rights. You don't lose them because there's a hurricane warning. And we'll be right back, folks.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. Glad you could stick with us through the break here. If you're just now joining us, we appreciate you tuning in to us here on Armed Alabama. Judge, you were going to talk about something else regarding the...
I was saying, I found the article, once again, thetruthaboutguns.com has an article from Seattle, Washington, about the temporary restraining order issued blocking the release of downloadable blueprints for 3D printed firearms. That, to me, seems a little overbroad. I mean, it's one thing to say manufacturing of this gun is illegal, but to say we're blocking the information, because during the break I mentioned, went through all that when people wanted to post how to build an atom bomb online. You can find out. It's just you can't, getting all the parts. It's just pretty difficult.
Right.
Well, let's see. You want to see what Michael has to say there from Citronelle? Hey,
Yeah,
Michael.
I'm a grandparent, and sometimes we have to pick up our grandkids from school, and we do. My wife does carry a pistol. She has a permit. What do we do when we have to go to school?
There's nothing that prohibits you. I would not take it in the school.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah, but no, it's fine in your car. The law doesn't prohibit you from doing it as long as you get a permit.
She does.
Yeah. People still think the Federal Safe School Act is in effect, and it was declared unconstitutional about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no Alabama law that says you can't take it in there.
So if somebody walks up and they ask, well, or you get, since everything is suspicious of everybody now.
Yeah. If somebody comes up to you in carpool and says, "Do you have a gun?" I'd say it's none of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just that's what I'd say. It's like if they came up and asked me, "Do you have do you have any Lord tabs on you?" Well, let's say I did because I had a backache. I wouldn't tell them. None of their business.
Okay. I was just really curious about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your phone call, Michael.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Judge, that puts me in mind of a caller you all had a year or so ago, and he was talking about when he was a high school student, and a lot of the guys had their own trucks, and they'd have gun rack up in the back window. Can they
did
still
my class too.
Legally?
Yeah.
Can they still do that?
Well, it depends on whether you mean legally or will the school let you. The school's not going to let you. All of the schools in Alabama, the public schools, they've had to adopt rules that say that students, employees, etc., can't bring firearms on the school grounds. That's not a criminal law. It doesn't apply to me, but I would have to have a permit to do that. And believe me, I don't want to be on the front page and be the example.
But did you say you did that in high school?
I said there were plenty of people that did. I had a sedan, but there were plenty of people with trucks and Blazers and that type thing.
Yeah.
Of course, now you'd have them stolen out of the window if you had it sitting in the back seat.
Bust your window out.
You'd be arming all the criminals.
Yeah, exactly. No question about that. There was another case I wanted to mention I can't remember, it was here on Canovi's show, but there was a U.S. District Court judge in California, that's the Ninth Circuit, who issued an order, and it was talking about ARs. Actually, it was talking about magazine capacity, and we got into ARs, but it said, and it was affirmed by the three-judge panel, but his order itself was great. I need to find it, post it. It goes into how can these be unconstitutional or illegal, because this is the most common type of magazine there is, in excess of 10 rounds. Every police officer in the country carries one. It is a hard-hitting opinion. Now, what'll probably happen, our side's won on appeal, but the Ninth Circuit, like the circuit we're in, the 11th, you can appeal to the full, it's called the in-bank court, and their whole court has 30-something people on it. If they take it, then we probably lose because we're outnumbered there. But the opinion itself is good because it gives you a lot of good facts, and it's just nice to occasionally see a ray of sunshine coming out of that place. Rarely happens. I want to mention again, McCoy's. Don't print your guns. Just go down to McCoy's.
Absolutely. They got a good selection.
Right down on Spring Hill Avenue, just west of I-65 where it crosses over. And they got people that know their guns. That's what's good. I mean, if you know what you want, you're a gun person, that's fine. They'll sell it to you. But if you go in and you're kind of wondering, and, in another 6 weeks, we'll have dove season coming up. So it's not too early if you want a new gun for dove season. Get down there. But running shoes, cleaning supplies, anything halfway related to sports they have. Want to mention Steve Moore, too. If you need to sue somebody, personal injury, call Steve Moore, hometown lawyer here, went to school with me, great guy, and he's located right down about a block off of Dolphin Street in Mobile. And, of course, if you strain your back, which I about did last week with all this, the spam cam and all that, call Dr. Justin Foster. He can take care of that. And by the way, Adam, I mentioned last week, a lot of people think they have to lock their ammunition up in their safe. And, of course, I have a few boxes in my safe, so it's kind of readily accessible. But ammunition doesn't have to be in a safe. I mean, go to any of the stores. It's not piled high. Ammunition to fire has got to be in a chamber of some sort. And if a house fire engulfs it, it may pop off, but it's not going to be firing at 2,200 feet per second like it would be coming out of the end of an AR. But Hanson heating and air, that's real important too. You want to keep that humidity down in your house. You also want to check out Hunter Security. I'm going to have a step-by-step how you can put your own security cams in. I'm doing that right now. But most people don't want to do what I'm doing and crawl into the house. So call Hunter Security. They can take care of you there and put those cameras in, or the burglar alarm or anything else. But start by locking your door. That's the thing to start off with.
Lock your door to your house, lock your door to your vehicles.
Yeah, if you need a lock, go by one of the Ace Hardware stores at Spring Hill, Creola, or Moffett Road and get one of those good, what are they called, double-cylinder deadbolts.
Right.
So people can't get in. But, yeah, lots of break-ins are just walking in.
I couldn't tell you how many times, Judge, that you told me that somebody gained access to a house or access to a car because it was unlocked.
Right. It's amazing. Even in my own neighborhood, I think a family member left a car unlocked with a lot of valuables in it, and someone just came along. There are people that roam around all night checking cars.
That's all they got to do.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the things I'm doing, a lot of people have, I call them side lights. You have your front door. You have fancy windows on the side. All it takes is a smash through one of those. Most people either have a deadbolt with a key or the kind you can turn. Think about, which I'm getting ready to do, is putting Lexan over that. I guess it's 1/4 of an inch. Somebody can get through eventually, but they're going to take enough time and make enough noise to where you're going to know about it. And Lexan is 250 times stronger than glass. It's like the old-time plexiglass, but better. Easy to work with, too. Cut it with a jigsaw. I'll turn it over to you, Adam. Say anything you need. Sid? Can't believe how quick this hour goes.
It does. It goes by so fast, and I always enjoy it. Sometimes I have a tough day like today, and get in here, and it's just awesome with everybody called with their comments and questions. So that really makes it fun. So glad you joined in tonight. So be sure and tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel, to Armed Alabama.